Shalom, giving all praise to Yahweh Shem Shabbat Shem Kodash. Shalom to the hopeful elect out there. And I'm going to entitle this video, excuse me, how do we know that this is Babylon? What I mean by that is how do we know that this is Babylon the Great? You know, you come into this truth like I came into the truth, came up under the men over me, which were known as the seven. There was really more teachers than the seven. But after so many years, it's like they stuck, you know, so they said we're going to call them the seven. That was just a term that we came up with, you know, among ourselves. But there were other teachers besides the seven. And I myself and other men that came up under the so-called seven became teachers as well. And none of the seven are really teaching. The only one that's teaching is the High Priest Lahab, formerly High Priest Lahab, or Elder Lahab, as he likes to call himself. And he's up in age. He's got to be 75, 76 or something like that when he's not out on the highways and the byways. But he does have a page on YouTube, Blaze Judah. I don't know if he put up any videos recently, but he put it up really around about the time, about maybe a year or two after we put our videos up on YouTube. But anyway, you know, his gospel was different. You know, he teaches that Edomites can make it, and if they believe, and Gentiles can make it. And for the ones of you that's going to say, well, how do you know that? Did you talk to the man? Yes, I talked to him. After I heard it, I ran into him a couple of times. And I actually asked him face to face, do you believe that Edomites and other nations can make it? He said, yes, if they believe. And I said, you're dead wrong. So you can either say, well, you never ran into him, you're making it up. Okay, believe what you want to believe, okay? But believe in a fairy godmother, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, when I wanted to get into going back to the seven, going back to the men that taught us, you know, you take it in when you come in, whatever they say, you're getting fed, you know, you're getting fed that milk. Everything starts with the basics. And then you're questioning things. So I question a lot of things. The first thing I questioned was the other nations making it, because my thing is, when I was in Christianity, you know, the word Gentile, the world, for God so say, for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. So I'm looking at the word world. I'm looking at the word Gentiles, heathens, Cornelius. Because before I came into the truth, I knew the scriptures. I understood this. When they said, go to this scripture and go to that scripture, I know to go to it. If they said, okay, go to Genesis, I knew it was the beginning of the book. Go to Matthew, I knew it was the first book of the Old Testament. I knew that you had Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Romans, I knew about the book of Acts, I knew about the book of Revelation. So I knew I could navigate through the Bible, but I didn't understand all of the Bible, but I understood certain things. And I would ask questions. And I remember the first question that I asked, it was High Priest Ariah. I think Yeshaya was there. High Priest Yeshaya, maybe High Priest Sean, I think Yaikwab, Elder Yaikwab. It wasn't all of them. And I think I went to somewhere in Romans about the Gentiles. I forget where I went to exactly. So I pulled out that scripture. I said, well, how can you explain this? It says Gentiles. And then Ariah took me to, this was when I first came in, we're talking about over 30 years ago. And he took me to this one precept, and I believe it was in Romans also. And he showed me that the Gentiles were Israelites. And I couldn't say anymore. I said, he got me on that one, because in my mind, I didn't want to just blindly follow somebody. I was never like that. I didn't want to blindly follow somebody. You got to question things. The Church of Berea. Now, you got these various different camps out there. And what people do, they join these camps. And a lot of these camps are guys that were never part of the One West. They never came up under any of the former One West camps. They just saw some videos on YouTube, and they didn't say, well, let me find out. I live in Chicago. Let me find out if there's a former One West camp in Chicago that I can go to. Okay, yeah, you got IUIC. I don't know if IUIC is still out there. You got GMS. You got ISUPK. I believe you got Sakari came after. They actually came up under us. But so you had a lot of brothers in the beginning, whatever state, city that they lived in, they found out if there was a camp close by. Could have been half an hour away, or 20 minutes away, or right down the block from where they live. And so they got on the comment board, how can I get in contact? The way the GMS camp started up, I used to say, set up camp, just go in the spirit. And brother would say, I'm from so-and-so, Texas. Is anybody that close to so-and-so, Texas? Yeah, I'm from so-and-so, Texas. Let's hook up. Then they will hook up. And then it'll start, it was like two guys, one guy sometime, and two guys. And then, through the years, you had more guys that added to it. And that went on with the GMS camps, ISUPK camps, the IUIC camps, and eventually the Sakari camps. But a lot of you that join these different camps, I'm talking about the former One Westers, the ISUPKs, the GMSs, and the IUICs and the HODCs. A lot of you guys come into this thing like newborn babies. You don't know nothing, and you just, whatever we teach you, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and you just accept it. But then there comes a point, maybe 6 months, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, when you start questioning things. You had guys, see, some of the brothers in GMS started off with the IUIC because they were on YouTube before us. And then they came across the GMS camps and the other different camps, and they said, well, I'm going to get with a GMS. Do you have GMS camps that said, I'm going to get with the IECP? Yeah, you got one guy that comes to mind. I don't know the brother's name. He's from out there in the West, LA, California area. He was down with the GMS out there in the West Coast, I believe the LA camp. And then he got, all of a sudden he got with the ISUPK. For what reason, I don't know. But you got to think. Anything that we say, you can't just take it on face value. You can't just say, well, the Apostle Gabar said it, or the Apostle Ricard said it, or Apostle Tahar said it, or one of the bishops said, I'm just going to blindly go with what they're saying. You do that in the beginning. But there comes a point where you question things, and then you start to find scriptures that they never taught you. So with all that being said, one of the things that you learned was, and we all teach this, I don't care if it's ISUPK, IUIC, HODC, Lions of Israel, Maccabees TV, AOC, any of them, and the ones that came, like Sakari, a major camp that came from GMS was Sakari. And all these camps that I mentioned, we all agree on the same thing. We all on the same page, that Babylon the Great is this place right here. Now you had and you should question that too. Now you had a particular break off from the Chicago GMS led by Nazariah, who broke off of one thing, off of the thing of Dan, and started with Dan. We said, look, you cannot no longer be with the camp. If you're teaching the way they go into Dan, Dan should be on the board, and Dan this and Dan that. Not going to go into details, but it got back to me because the brother was secretly kind of spreading it to pulling people to the side. So one brother said, this brother came to me and he said, Dan is this, and Dan should be on the sign, and we going off, and we should mention Dan and Dan or the Irish or whatever. And then we got to the brother and we said, well, look, brother, you are no longer part of this thing until you repent. You come back the right way. And he respectfully, took it, but he never kind of came back from that. And that was it. That was it. Another brother was Patak. He was a former head of the GMS in the very beginning. And he started coming up with, well, what was it? Revelation 9, y'all breaking it down wrong, and I'm not going to budge. So I said, okay, not going to budge. Then you're out. If you repent, you can come back. But there's always a time limit. Gave the space to repent, right? Because let the brother think about it. So what happened to Patak is he was, lollygagging, BSing, and he kind of wanted to come back, and he kind of didn't. And he got with he was in contact with the Dallas camp, and he was trying to get back in through them, but the time limit was up with us, and we cursed him out, and we cursed out the Dallas camp for playing around with that dude, And I remember in the beginning, I said, you don't like what's going on, you can get to stepping. I don't give a damn who you are. And that applies today. You don't like the fact that we're teaching the great doctrine, then move on. But when you move on, don't get with the IUIC because they're teaching it now. I just did a video on it where the bishop, he said that if you have a wife and you're legally married, you can get it when you want to get it. So guess what? Look up the definition for great. If a woman says she don't want it that night, she got a headache, you can't deal with it. Now, if she says she got a headache for the next 10 years, well, guess what? You are ass out. And you can't get a woman on the side because if the IUIC leadership find out, they're going to kick you out. So you're caught between a rock and a hard place. A rock and a hard place. Emphasis on the word hard place. Pun intended. You can't get a girl on the side because you're part of IUIC. But you can, but you can't. Well, no. But they said you can go ahead and take it. Go ahead and take it. So they have a great doctrine too. So why don't you guys get on them with the IUIC and tell them about the grape doctrine? Ask them if you have a wife and legally married to a woman and she ain't feeling like she want to do it. You're an oversex guy. You want to have it 3 times a day, even on the Sabbath, and she needs rest. Let's say, and you hit it in the morning, you hit it in the afternoon, you hit it in the evening. Her thing between her legs is sore. If she need a break, but you can go ahead and take it anyway. That's legally, that's great. So they got to answer that, man. Got to answer. Anyway, let me go into this. So at one time or another, you had all the camps pretty much say the same thing, that Babylon the Great is this place right here, the U.S., America. But you believe it because they told you. That's what it is. And then they showed you some scriptures. But so we're going to go into the scriptures, and we're gonna get into the word Babylon. We're gonna do it. What I did was I put in Babylon, and you got to apply everything that we teach. Like for example, when we say Abba Bibbins, let me say it right for vocab talk shit. Abba Bibbins, Abba we call him, as Elijah. You don't have to believe that, but as you grow into this thing, and you come across, Malachi, Malachi 4, 5, and 6, then you come across, or you taught Matthew's 11 and Matthew 17, and then we can add to that Luke 1 and 17, because they all go together. When you put them scriptures together, what is it? What comes out of that? Reincarnation. Reincarnation. Now you might say regeneration, reincarnation. Another way of saying regeneration is reincarnation. Kar or Karni means flesh, and gene is the seed, which the seed is flesh, is proteins in there. That's the building blocks for your body. So you need proteins, man. You need proteins in your body to keep your body, you say I'm not going to eat any proteins, you're going to wind up catching a heart attack, stroking out, eventually dropping dead. Your body needs proteins. Now you might say, well, I'm a vegan. Guess what? You still got to get proteins. There's proteins that you can get outside of meat. So, and then you got to eat meat anyway, because it's in scriptures. How do you keep the Passover? When the angels came down to Abraham, what they did was they ate meat. So now let's go into the word Babylon. And there's a difference between Babylon and Babylon, or Babylon and the daughter of Babylon, or Babylon and Babylon the Great. You have ancient Babylon, which is an actual place off of the Euphrates, which is Iraq today. Oh, and by the way, the going back to the men that broke off, Nazariah, that broke off because of the Dan thing, everything started changing. Oh, y'all going off on this, you're going, at first, no, we are teachers GMS, and we still respect them, even though we broke off. But little by little, they changed everything. Oh, you're breaking this down wrong. You're breaking Revelation 9 down wrong. You're breaking that down wrong. You're breaking Jeremiah 50 down wrong. Daniel 7. And the Most High took that whole, whatever they had, Matthew 13, started 11, 12, 13 verse, whatever was given to them, it was taken away from them, even that what they had. So they waxed worse and worse. So one of the things that they taught was, or is today, you got to get in contact with them. And they was on YouTube. They were on YouTube for a couple of years. That page is down. We don't know what they're doing. So one of the things that they would teach, that Babylon, or Babylon the Great, is the Vatican City. So you know us, we jumped on them about it. We going back and forth with them. And we would say, well, where'd you get that from? Which scriptures? And they would never give it up. Now, one of the guys that followed Nazariah, he did one video, I forget what it was, and he met, and then I know where he got it from. Peter had mentioned the church in Babylon, but they never pulled it out on us. They were kind of holding it, right? Like ace in the hole, card up the sleeve, so to speak. That's the scriptures that they use to prove that Babylon, that Babylon is the Vatican City. When Peter said to the church at Babylon, they're saying, see, there's a church, an actual church in Babylon, and that's Vatican City. No, when you read the scriptures correctly, that place, Babylon, was Iraq. You had Israelites living in Iraq. Remember, the Israelites were scattered all over the place. You don't have Israelites looking like Arabs, speaking nothing but Arabic. You're gonna have Israelites among the Afghani people, among the Persians, which are the people of Iran. You thinking that the Arab, they kind of look like Arabs or Elamites, and they speaking that language, and they dancing the dance that they dance, they eat the food that they eat. Israel's gonna come out of everywhere looking like everybody. Speckled bird. That's why the scripture said in Jeremiah, speckled bird. So, and that's that multitude in Revelation chapter 7, verse 9. So anyway, let's go into it. So I put in Babylon, the first scripture that came up was 2 Kings 17:24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon and from Cusha. Now we know that this is talking about Babylon, the ancient Babylon, and this is talking about the ancient Assyria. Sometimes you come across the word Assyria, it's talking about this place. Babylon is talking about this place. So you have to know when it's talking about the actual place or the spiritual place. So let's look up the word Babylon. I'm not going to try to make this long, because you got to get out of that, oh, he's my teacher, he's the great and powerful artist, whatever this nigga said, I'm just going to go with it 100%. Even if another camp comes and tells me I'm going off and bring me proof, I'm with this nigga. That's a topic right there for you. Apostle Rhyme, Apostle Gabar, I'm with this nigga. And then at the end of the day, you're going to find out he is a nigga. So try us like we're niggas. Try us. Everything that we say, accept yet verify. The Church of Berea mentality. It says, and the king, like the grape doctrine. Did we budge from the grape doctrine? Huh? Now you got IUIC teaching that, yes, you can grape. And they can't say, well, I'm lying, I'm putting words in your mouth. I did a video on it, and you can see the bishop actually saying it. It says, so let's click on that, Babylon. Let's go on the word Babylon. Because a Christian don't know. They look at the word Babylon, whether it's in the New Testament, whether it's in the book of Revelation, it all means the same thing to him. Oh, Babylon is in Iraq. Yeah, but hey, actually, the Desert Storm, when the troops went down there, they were teaching the troops that when they were attacking Iraq, they were saying we're fighting against the wicked Babylonians. In the book of Revelation, where it speaks about Babylon shall be destroyed, they're saying that was what they were teaching these people. So Babel. Babal. And then you got the root, you got Babal, H 894, then you got H 1101. Babylon, Babal, Babylonian, Babel, confusion by mixing. Now, I'm gonna give you an example of confusion by mixing. In this country, you have the freedom of religion. You can believe that a head of lettuce is God, and they can't do nothing against you. They can't prosecute you for that or persecute you for that. You can believe in Islam. You can be, but there's many forms of Christianity. You can be a witch. You can be a practicing witch, and that's in the military. Do you know they have witch covens in the U.S. military and the branches of the military? I remember years back in World War II, World War One, you had a Moism going on, and they would catch you out there and they would court-martial you. There's a movie called Biloxi Blues, I think it's called, and there was a scene where these two military guys were, getting it in, so to speak, and they found out, they heard that they were doing it, and they caught him, and they ran. So when Clinton came on the scene, he said, no, you can do it now. You can do it, but don't tell nobody. Just keep it. We're not gonna persecute you, prosecute you for it. We're not gonna throw you in the brig. We're not gonna court martial you, but just don't tell nobody. No, don't let nobody know. Then Barack Obama came and he said, no, you can openly do it. You can openly do it. They all swear on the Bible. The Bible condemns that act. So Clinton said, do it, but don't tell nobody. Barack Obama said, do it, and you can tell people. You can let the world know that you're into it. If you want, you can change your sex, and we'll even pay for it, man. If it's $100,000 to change your sex, put in an application, we'll give you the money. A lot of motherfuckers go to jail, and they can get their plumbing changed. So you're a mix. You grew up as a man, but you want to be a woman. So what's inside of you? You can't take all the man parts out. You're half man, half woman, which is a mix. Excuse me. So, and that's a good, perfect example. Then when when Trump came in, he didn't repeal those laws. He didn't say nothing about it. He had nothing good or bad to say about it, but the laws are still on the books. And then when this individual, which is the President Biden, he further pushed that thing. And then during his administration, they overturned Roe versus Wade about the the abortion thing. Well, it's confused now because the Republicans got it and they're bringing it back that you can't abort your children, but then but there's certain states you can. So guess what? This is a place of great confusion. If you're in one state that you can't do a certain thing, you just move over to the next state. And that state might be 15 minutes away from the state that you reside in. So that's mass confusion. All these different religions, like if you go to the Arab world, right? You got to be an Arab, man. When you got to be a Muslim. When the movie X was made, Spike Lee, X and Denzel, do you know? And this is the fact that when they went over there, they were shooting certain scenes in Mecca. They wanted to make it real, so they actually went to Mecca. That was a big budget movie. And they said that if you come into Mecca, in the Arab world, you have to convert to Islam. You have to be Islamic. So you know what they did? They converted to Islam. Then when they left, the country, they converted back to Christianity or whatever. So you can't be a Christian in an Islamic country. You got to go into the research of that. But I remember that when they were making the movie X, they had to come in. All of them, film crew, they all converted to being Islamic. And then when they, like I said, when they came back, they went back to being Christians and this and that and Baptists and so forth. So in this country, you can believe in anything. You can be a witch, you can be a warlock. You can change a man could become a woman could become a man. And then even in Christianity, when you go into the book of the Christianity, which is the scriptures, it condemns being a Mo in the Old Testament and New Testament. Guess what? You got pastors that were men and turning to women and women that turn to men. You got judges that are women, which is clearly out of order, but they'll tell you it's a Christian country. This is the most confused country on the planet Earth. So this has to be Babylon. So it says a mixing. Now, what I'm going to do is this. I don't want to make this long, You know what I'm gonna do? Let me go to Babylon in the New Testament. Babylon. Come down to Revelation. So when you come across this word Babylon, depending on what part of the Bible that you're in, primarily if you're in the Old Testament, it's talking about the city in off of the Euphrates. But in prophetic, in the prophetic, if you go in the prophetic scriptures, Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, Isaiah 13, these prophetic scriptures that mention Babylon in prophecy, we know that it's not talking about ancient Babylon. But other than that, other than those uh, uh, prophetic scriptures, the rest of the New Testament, when it says Babylon, is talking about the actual place. It says, Revelation 18:10, standing far off for the fear of a torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city. For now, they're not going to say Babylon. They're going to say the U.S. At 1 hour is that judgment coming. We know how that judgment is coming. So now let's look that word up in the Greek. And it's going to take you right back to the Hebrew word babal. Babal is a Hebrew word. So when they say Bab O Lon, it's a Greek way of saying babal. And where is it? Babal in the Hebrew. H 894. So what does the word mean? It means confusion. So when you go into the New Testament in the Greek, it takes you right back to the Hebrew, which means confusion. It says a very large and famous city. Is not this a very large and famous city? Did not it say that? Matter of fact, I'll get it. It's in the book of Isaiah. Baal is mentioned one time in the scriptures. That's in the book of Isaiah 22 and 18. He will surely violently turn and towards thee, the Israelites, like a ball into a large country. What does it mean, like a ball? A ball has buoyancy. Look up buoyancy. A ship has floats because it has buoyancy, the way it's crafted. The shape of the ship gives it buoyancy to keep it afloat. So he compared those ships to a ball. So we were inside that ball. Violently turning towards thee, like a ball into a what? A large country. That large country is Babylon the Great. There shalt thou die. Yep, you're gonna go under the curses. You're gonna be put to death. You're gonna die. You're gonna work. You're gonna get old. You're gonna die. Some of you gonna get killed. Some of you gonna get lynched. Some of you gonna get worked to death. And there, the chariots of thy glory, which are ultimately the ships, because we're gonna get out of here gloriously, shall be the shame of thy Lord's house. So us coming over here, being violently turned and tossed like a ball, was a shame. It was a shame. But ultimately, we're going to be delivered through by a glorifying way. The ships, we're going to get beamed up, and that's only for the elect. Most High's not going to say, okay, let me deliver all the Israelites, and then we'll straighten them out, in the wilderness. That's you heard that story. This time he's only taking the elect. So when he gets the people that get beamed up to them ships, they're gonna be right. And they're going to get that kingdom built. And they're going to get the kingdom built by the hands of our servants, our slaves. Part of what we teach, and it's all scriptural. Isaiah 24 comes to mind. I was going to go into that whole chapter. So let's come back. A very large and famous city. A very large and famous city. The world, people around, everybody around the world, they know about Babylon the Great. They know about the U.S. They know about America. And most people want to come here to better their lives. The majority of people that came over here to America the turn of the century were immigrants from Europe. The Italians, or the Chinese, the small hats, the Germans. And they said at one time they was going to make the official language of the U.S. German, because I believe at one time there was like 50% of the people in America were of German descent. That's why you got the hamburger, come from Hamburg, Germany. The Frankfurter come from Frankfurt, Germany. You have all these different foods that come from other places around the world, like pizzas and Italian food that came from the boys over there in World War II. A lot of these Americans were stationed in Italy, and they were eating Italian food. So they wanted the Italian food when they came over here to America. And then you had immigrants from Italy open up pizza shops and so forth. So the pizza is not American food, neither is the hamburger or the Frankfurter. They all come from different places around the world. So this is also known as Yaquab, L.D. Yaquab would say, the cauldron. That's in the scriptures, the cauldron. Babylon is also known as a cauldron. So it says a very large and famous city. Now you might say, well, how is America a city? Isn't it a state or country? Well, a city is as big as its citizens. You might be a citizen in New York, but you're also a citizen of the U.S. So you're a dual citizen. It says a very large and famous country. Everybody on the planet knows about America. And this is a large country, 5,000 miles square. The residence of the Babylonian kings situated on both sides of the Euphrates as ancient Babylon, Cyrus, and formerly captured it. But Darius Hystaspes threw down its gates and walls, and there was more than one Darius. Gates and walls, and Xerxes. Now Xerxes came after Darius. Xerxes is a man in Asuris in the book of Esther, and that was an individual in the movie. We all saw the movie 300. The tall guy with all the jewelry on, that was Xerxes, which is also Asuris. Destroyed the temple of, what was that, Belus. At length, the city was reduced to almost solitude. Well, it was a surgical strike. They didn't destroy, knock down buildings and all that. They just took it over. They killed the king and his lords, and they just made it a province. The population having been drawn off by the neighboring Seleucia, right, that goes into the Greeks, built on the Tigris by Seleucus Nicanor. You know the history about Nicanor, of the territory of Babylon, allegorically of Rome as the most corrupt seat of idolatry and the enemy of Christianity. So guess what? You got ancient pagan Rome, which was against the Jews and Christianity, and you have the new Rome, which is the beast in Revelation. So when the Lord said, when the apostles, the disciples said, when How should we know that the world is going to come to an end? And that word there is age. The word there was not cosmos. The word was eon, which is an age. So they thought that the Lord was going to come back and take down the pagan Roman Empire. No, but he didn't lie. He is going to take down the Roman Empire, but he's going to take down the new rebirth of the Roman Empire, which is NATO and the EU. And the seat of government is the military seat of the government comes out of America, but then the orders come out of London. The religious part of this system is a Roman Catholic Church. That's why all the Baptists, the Methodists, all Jehovah's Witnesses, they all got the same. The Caesar Borgia, that's the Roman Catholic or Renaissance Caesar Borgia. So now this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get ready. I'm not going to go crazy, but let me read this. Now, in a roundabout way, Ellicott's commentary for English readers, they're going to tell you that it's the U.S., but they're not going to mention the U.S. So let me just read that, and then I'll close. And there follow. And like I said, the reason why I'm doing this video, the ones of you that have been in this thing for umpteen years, I'm singing to the choir. You already know this. This is really for you men that are, and women, sisters, that have come into this thing 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. You're still learning. You're still learning. But the main lesson is this. You can't take everything on face value. You can't just follow us and say, well, I had a dream that GMS got the truth, and whatever they say, I'm just going to blindly follow. No. But that's what a lot of these guys do. And they do it in these other camps, IUIC, a lot of them guys, they blindly follow. Like one thing that they teach in the IUIC, now tell me I'm wrong. If you tell me I'm wrong, and I am, I'll say I'm wrong. But I heard this a couple of times, that Bishop Nate, they say that he's Elijah. Now, Bishop Nate ain't stopping that. They're saying that he's Elijah. Well, wait a minute. Then who is Abba? So if he's teaching that, he's clearly going off. If he allows that to go on, he's clearly going off. It says, and there followed, the gospel angel is followed by the angel that proclaims the downfall of Babylon. See, the average Edomite out there, or even Jake, they have no clue that this is Babylon the Great. They have no clue that the war over there in Russia against Ukraine is going to escalate over here. But in time, the majority of the world people don't know that they're going to get a charagma. Even certain Israelite groups don't teach that. They're going to get a charagma in them, which, by the way, the word mark goes back to the word charagma. Charagma is a physical thing. Charagma is not sin. Charagma is not some spiritual thing. The word charagma is a physical thing. The root word for that is charax, and the root word for that goes back to the word graphos, which all three of those words, charagma, charax, and graphos, are all physical things. The hand, right hand, is a physical thing. The forehead is a physical thing. So you go ahead and blindly listen to those guys, and then there's going to come a time when they actually introduce the world to this thing, and you got a ultimatum whether you're going to take it or not, whether you're going to eat, whether you're going to be able to buy or sell. And then with that, you're going to have 15-minute, 20-minute cities and smart cities, IoT, Internet of Things. So it says, proclaim the downfall of Babylon better. How many people on this earth, percentage-wise, know that Babylon in Revelation 18, or Book of Revelation, is talking about this place? They don't even understand the whole beast system. They're lost. That's why I said this time and time again. I'll continue to say it. It's a waste of time for like Captain Tazariak to constantly have go back and forth with these guys in the conscious community. You're trying to wake up the dead. You've been trying to wake up the dead for what, 10 years or so, and they ain't budging. If your grandmama died, you can shake until the cows come home. You ain't gonna wake her up. Her spirit then left her body. It's time to bury her, man. So we don't argue, but we don't have to argue. We give you the truth. Our job is to push this thing out, and the Most High gathers the elect, and the elect is going to get it. We don't got to go throughout all the cities of the world. You know, IUIC does that. They go to Africa, they go over here, and nothing ever really pans out there because the Most High ain't dealing with them people out there. Most High is only dealing with the elect, and the Most High is going to set up a way where the elect runs into a video. You ain't gonna have an elect person up on the Himalaya mountains with no internet service. He's just chilling out in the Himalayas, doing what the hell he do. If he's one of the elect, the Spirit's gonna make him get off that mountain, and he's gonna run into a camp, and hopefully he run into a GMS camp. Maybe y'all should go to the Himalaya mountains, man. IUIC, breaking ground on the top of the Himalaya. It says in another, and guess what? Guess what does our heavy work? The internet. If we didn't have the internet, there wouldn't be no GMS camps all around this country and around the world. For that matter, there wouldn't be no IUIC camps all around, no ISUPK. Al-Azhar would have never came into this, or any of you brothers, man. The thing that does the heavy work for us is the internet, and it doesn't cost much. Everybody and their mama got an internet. If you don't got a laptop or a PC, you got your everybody got a smartphone. The government gives you smartphones for free. You can go to the library. There's certain places, you could go to, man. You can get free internet. So it says, and another second angel, follows saying, fallen is Babylon, the great, who has given all the nations to drink. And what drink did they give them? The drink where you can have, like in Ghana, I believe it's Ghana. They got the prime minister, one of the heads. They're trying to push that Moism, because in certain parts in Africa, if you a Mo, the sentence is death. They're gonna lock you up for life, or they're gonna kill you, and it's gonna be a public killing. They're gonna beat the hell out you, put a tie over your head, over your neck, and burn you. But Esau doesn't want that. He wants you to allow Moses to be a part of that. You want the people to truly be free. So that's the wine. Their democracy. Christianity, not so much. At one time it was Christianity, now it's democracy. Because you don't have any kings no more. You have the king of England. And why would America be allied to the king of England, which being a king is against democracy? All these nations, the African nations, the Arab nations, even your enemies, even Russia, all the leaders of those places were elected through a democratic process. So guess what? All of them drunk of that wine. Excuse me. I said the second angel follows on the first, the doom of the world city. I like the fact that they said that. What's the world city? What's the world city? This was the great power, but then you had Russia, which is another great power. Now you got another great power, which is China. Now you got China joining forces with Russia. Now you got 16 other nations that want to be a part of the BRICS nations. the metropolis. Now the word metropolis means mother city. This is a mother city of the empire of the what? Of the world power. World power is coming from out of what? Out of here, out of this place. If it follows the proclamation of the gospel, the principles of the Messiah's gospel must undermine the what? Undermine the world power. So we condemn this place. The fall of some Babylon principle has almost always succeeded the age of spiritual revival. So before this place goes down, they said succeeded because he preceded, because spiritually telling this place that it's going to go down, and it is going to go down. But then after it goes down, they're saying in history, then you got a religious revival of worshiping of the Lord. But it comes before that. It precedes that. This place can't go down unless the Most High sends his prophets to condemn this place. Babylon did not go down unless the Most High sent his prophets to condemn that place. Egypt did not go down unless and until the Most High sent his prophet and leader, Moses, and the men under Moses to condemn that place. So this place is no different. So you trying to figure out why these jakes are all over in the corner with a 12 tribe sign telling the people that you're Israelites and you white people are Edomites. We're telling you who we are. Proclaim ye this among the nations, the Gentiles, prepare war. These devils over here in Babylon think that everything's going to be all right. Ain't nothing going to happen to us. That's Isaiah chapter 47. But you are going down. And the ones of you guys that fell out through the years, every last one of you that fell out and went back into the world, went back into being a Christian or a Muslim or whatever the hell, a Baptist or a Roman Catholic, guess what? If you're still living, you're all going to take the charagma and you're all going to die. In my Washington voice from the movie The Boys in Company C, because you're all a bunch of F-ups and you're all going to die. But before you die, you're going to take the charagma. It says succeeded the age of spiritual, well, succeeded the age of spiritual revival is the kingdom. Yes, we are going to succeed after this place goes down, but we precede this kingdom going down by condemning it. Has it be condemned? Isaiah 34. It said pagan Rome. This is the second pagan Rome, Revelation 13. That's what it's all about. Goes down before the gospel. Civil freedom follows the wake of religious freedom. And that's the kingdom. For Babylon belongs not to one age. Pagan Rome was Babylon to St. John. Right, that was Babylon. But the Babylon that's going to be utterly destroyed is the new Rome. The one whose head was wounded with a deadly wound, but came back to life. Remember it was EU. EU was established by a group of Edomites called the meeting of the Club of Rome. If you go to Club of Rome and you go to Google and you go to images, you're going to see a big room, I believe it's a round table, and everybody in there are Edomites, and they're established in the EU, which is a part of the NATO, which is part of the beast. And see, Christian Edomites will not tell you this because they have to include themselves into it because they're Edomites. They're Romans. They're Babylonians. So for Babylon belongs not to the one age. Pagan Rome was Babylon to St. John. And St. John was talking about what? When he's talking about Babylon, he was talking about this Babylon. Papal Rome was often the Babylon to a later age. Dante Savonarola, Tula Martin Luther, felt her to be so in the days when the eyes were enlightened. But Babylon was not on the Euphrates alone. She has red, she has red palaces on the Seine and on the Themis, Tibar, and on the Bosphorus. She may yet erect these words jump. That's why I'm doing this. She may yet erect a power in more imposing form, but faith in that gospel, the true gospel, which is the power of the Most High, will cast her down along with everything that exalts itself against the knowledge of the Most High. This man exalts himself among the knowledge of the Most High, that everything called to the Most High, they're against. Now, they might call on God. They might say, thank you, God. They might swear on the Bible. But then as soon as they get into office, they pass laws and legislation to bring in confusion, to do things that's against the scriptures. They don't even have a Sabbath. Not one of these presidents, Clinton, Reagan, this guy, Carter, Obama, Biden, not one of them called for a Sabbath day. There's no Sabbath day in America. There's no Sabbath day in America. Back when I was a kid, you had blue laws. And Sunday, everything was closed, man. This is before the era of the big supermarkets. You had a butcher shop, you had a baker shop, you had to go to different shops to buy different things. That's how we shopped back then. I'm talking about when I was a kid. And the first, on the East Coast, the first big supermarkets, they weren't even all that big, was a Pathmark and A&P. The A&P is gone, it's dead and buried. Pathmark is dead and buried. And then you got all these other places, other markets. But I remember your mother would go down the street to the bakery, get bread, fresh bread, by the way. And then she'd go a couple of stores down, go to the butcher shop. The milk they didn't get because they would deliver milk to you straight off the farm in a metal box. They could put them bottles of milk, which would crack. You crack somebody in the head with that bottle of milk, you kill somebody. It wouldn't break. That glass was so thick. And you would get your milk. The guy would come with a white truck. Sometimes it had a picture of a cow on it, and it'll come right off the farm. So if you drink that milk, a couple hours before that, somebody was milking that cow, a non-GMO cow. So this motherfucker got to go. This fucking place got to go, man. Scriptures say we shall drink poison and live. Okay, she may yet erect her power in more imposing form, but faith in that the gospel, which is the power of the Most High, will cast her down along with everything that exalts itself against the knowledge of the Most High. They don't honor the Sabbath. They don't push the Most High. They just push their laws. They're coming against us. They're persecuting us in the media because we're saying that we're the people. If we say that we're the people, do you know what that makes us? That makes us anti-Semites. We found out that we're the people. We're saying that we're the people. So you guys are anti-Semites. That's why there's a special destruction for them people, man. They're not the people. They're Edomites. And they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that they're Edomites. It says the influence of Babylon is declared in this, that she has given all nations to drink of deadly wine. Now, is that talking about the Vatican City? No, because not everybody's a Catholic. That wine is her philosophy. You can be born a boy and become a girl. A man can lay with a man, a woman can lay with a woman. You can lay with beasts. There's laws that protect a man laying with a beast. And see, if you notice, Vocab Malone, he doesn't get on America. He doesn't get on the government. He doesn't get on Islam. He doesn't get on. He doesn't get on witches. He doesn't go to witch covens. He doesn't confront them. He doesn't. He doesn't go back and forth with atheists. He just gets on the Israelites. Why? Because he's set up to do so, whether it be by actual people or by Satan himself. Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai is not dealing with that guy, and he's a damn devil. And if he's an Edomite, he's going to go into captivity. He better hope he's a Hamite or an Ishmaelite. You ain't going to catch it as bad if you're an Edomite. And you better really hope like hell you an Israelite that's just lost. But I don't think I'll say you're not an Israelite. As of right now, as it stands, you're an Edomite. So the only thing you can do is hope that you're a Hamite, a light-skinned Hamite. And you're going to be famous in the kingdom. You're going to be famous. We probably be renting you out. We'll probably rent you out. Between myself and between Apostle Gabar, Apostle Ricard, Apostle Ramlav, the bishops, the other elders, we'll rent you out. This is the week I give vocab. Okay, get out there, work in the field. And you're gonna be in shape too, because we're gonna work your ass. It says, and he thinks it's a joke. He thinks everything is a joke. He thinks this truth that we're teaching is a joke. It says, it says that great fear fell upon them. When you read in Ezekiel 37 and you read Revelation 11, it said they're going to be assembled in front of them. That's also in Psalms 15, 16 on down. It said the wine alike of her sin and her doom, of her fornication. Any nation that's a part of this man's system, they're in bed. Recently, you have the Chinese and the Russians. They had the one meeting where they got together and they shook hands, the premiers of both nations. So they're in bed with each other. The EU nations are in bed with the NATO nations. The NATO nations are in bed with the EU nations, and they are all in bed with the US. It says, and of the wrath which will overtake it, that's the destruction, Babylon then. And now it speaks in the scriptures about it being taken down in 1 hour. What can do that? What's the only thing that can do that? It's clearly an emblem of some principles which have been more or less accepted by all nations. That's this place right here. Back in the ancient Roman Empire, people wanted to be Romanized. They got Romanized. They did as the Romans do. That's the old saying. So there's a term now called Americanization. You go to Japan, you got like the different restaurants and the sock hop and the hip hop and all these other hops that they got from American music or culture. It says, and which will more or less involve all the consequences of her what? Of her fall. Revelation 16 and 19, Revelation 16 and 17, where the features of this Babylon are more fully developed. But they're not going to tell you what Babylon is or where Babylon is located. Now, they should know in the back of their mind. Like right here, Benson commentary. I'm not going to read it. But they'll mention the Antichrist. They'll mention Rome. Proclaim the fall of the capital cities, saying Babylon is fallen. By Babylon is meant Rome, including the anti-Christian kingdom. So that, we don't got to read all this. We don't got to read all this. Bottom line is they don't know, or they do know and they're pretending not to know. Anyway, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.